When I was looking through patch notes, there were a lot of very promising changes. Blitzcrank turning into a jungler and getting massive buffs was certainly one of them, as was Syndra getting an overhaul and a 15% health execute. Okay, I mean that looks pretty broken, but it's absolutely nothing compared to the real terror that was hidden in this patch. There was one change on here that I thought definitely should have never made it to live. So when it did and the patch came out, I went to go test it in SmurfQ, and let me tell you, I was 100% right. Today we're going to be looking over one of the biggest oversights in recent times and showing you exactly how to farm free LP until this champion gets nerfed. And remember, if you want to climb fast, then check out skill caps after this. With our skill insurance, you'll climb at least 5 divisions when actively using skill caps or your money back. So why not give it a go? Anyways, about the changes. What changes are we talking about exactly? Well, these ones. Riot wanted to increase nasus's ability to be picked in high elo and give him some high skill upgrades to make him more viable in top tier play. Upon first glance, these don't really look that absurd. We've got some quality of life improvements with range on his Q, and he gained some extra range on his ult AoE, but literally none of that matters. The only thing we care about is this change to W, and why anyone thought this would be remotely okay is completely beyond me. I'm not sure what is high skill about buffing a point-click ability to the point where your opponents literally can't play the game, but hey, I'm just going to pass this off as Riot not really understanding why Nasus is really OP. Most people probably just assume Nasus is a top lane champ that wants to stack Q and scale infinitely, but at this point, that's by far his worst role. In fact, the way that you want to play Nasus avoids putting a singular point into Q for as long as possible. In case you haven't heard of it, or have but think it's complete snake oil, Nasus support is absolutely beyond broken. The hardest thing about winning with Nasus support is just getting your teammates to understand why it's good. Almost every single game I have to deal with this. Multiple lobbies got dodged, and even in this game my ADC is trying to FF at 2 minutes. Of course, even with all of this complaining, just watch what happens. I'm just gonna solo this guy, by the way. Yeah, man, Nasus support's so bad. You just run at the ADC and just run him down. Guy just wants to die because he's bad, and he can't move because Wither is a very balanced ability. Every game, the damage chart at the end of it looks like this. It's gotta at least be worth considering, especially when this includes the fact that you literally do not scale Q at all, and his most broken ability doesn't even deal damage, and they buffed it by 50% at all ranks. Once again, I don't understand, but let's just dive into why Nasus support is so broken. When thinking about support champions, they usually tend to fall into one of two categories: those that want short trades and those that want long trades. For short trades, think of champions like Brand, Vel'Koz, Zyra, etc. Once you use your spell rotation, you don't really do a ton of damage, and you'd rather not continue the fight unless you're going to secure the kill. Then there are champions that either have short cooldowns / do damage over time, or need to melee range to do anything. They tend to want longer fights. Think of things like Leona, Nautilus, and Senna. So when you're playing against champions that want longer fights, the natural way to win is to make the fight short so that they can't excel. If Leona can't go in and just eats poke, she's not going to have a great time. On the contrary, champions that want short trades absolutely hate when they are forced into long engagements. Simple enough, right? So what exactly does Nasus struggle at? You could really lean either way. To answer that question more, we need to know how Nasus wants to play in a lane. The reason why we don't max Q is not only because your ADC would probably hate you for taking all their farm, but also because we are going to be building very differently from what top lane Nasus is going to build. We're going to put all of our points into E and just treat Nasus like a poke champion. Leveling E gives an absurd amount of damage per skill point. 40 damage just on the initial portion. If we compare this to a champion known for poke like Vel'Koz, we'll see that this is pretty comparable to other abilities. On his Q, he also gets 40 damage. His E gets 30, and his W gets 20 on the first component and 30 on the second. meaning if you hit both parts of W, you get 50 damage for each level you put in. Vel'Koz W is not an easy ability to land both parts, often requiring a W-E combo. Two pretty difficult skill shots considering their size. Now compare that to nasus E, and it's almost laughable how unmissable this skill shot is by comparison, that I really don't even want to call it a skill shot. On top of that, the 40 damage upgrade per skill point isn't even everything. We didn't even talk about the fact that you get a damaging tick afterwards that goes up by an additional 8 for each level. With how large this is, you're almost guaranteed to get at least 1 tick of damage, sometimes 2 or 3, meaning that nasus E really upgrades for on average around 60 damage instead of 40. Oh, did I mention that it also just casually shreds half of your opponent's armor, which means that your ADC is doing way more damage than they're supposed to. If your ADC wants to buy 45% armor penetration, they would have to buy 1.5 Lord Dominik's for guards, which just isn't possible. There's no way to get this much armor penetration from any item, which makes nasus E the absolute best damage amplification in the game for any ADC champion. At just 2 points into E at level 3, watch how unplayable this looks for my opponent. Not only do I just get to create a massive amount of zone by walking at people, I can drop one ability to do a very fun and balanced 150 damage. Now, one would think that this isn't too unfair, considering that I have a decently long cooldown now, but you have to remember that we haven't even talked about anything that has to do with the actual nasus buffs yet. He always had this stupid level of poke in a lane. Most other poke champions would want to avoid long fights now with their big damaging abilities on cooldown, but this is why nasus is so stupid. Almost every single ADC champion in the game does damage in the same way, by auto-attacking. And guess what? Wither is exceptionally good at making people not do, well, I don't think I even have to say it. Effectively, with one push of a button, you can remove an ADC from a fight and just turn it into a 2v1. I can run at my opponents without a single ability up that does any damage, and the second they want to actually turn the fight, I can just push W and they lose. Let's just get Draven an auto attack counter now and watch how much counterplay he has here. Friendly reminder that Wither lasts for 5 seconds, the longest CC ability in the game. Why it's point click and just got buffed by 50%? Again, no idea. If we look at his attack speed right before he died, it's 0.58, meaning he gets a little over 1 auto attack in every 2 seconds. This is single-handedly the most crippling spell in the game for any ADC, and you can just keep pushing this on them throughout the rest of the game. For such an overtuned spell that just removes thousands and thousands of gold worth of stats, you would expect it to have a decently long cooldown, but think again. Nasus Wither has an 11-second cooldown and lasts for 5 seconds. On ADCs who don't build tenacity, you're getting that full duration every time. So how much cooldown reduction would we need for this ability to basically have permanent uptime? Surprisingly, not that much. Just in runes alone, we're going to be running Transcendence as well as the ability haste rune. This gives 18 ability haste. The rest of the runes are taken to accentuate his E, which means Scorch, Comet, and Mana Flow Ban to make your opponents have even more fun. In lane, since we're just going to want to be spamming that Spirit Fire, we want to buy cooldown boots early and then rush CDR. For only 950 gold, you can grab Lucidity boots and then pick up a Frozen Heart for 2,500. Altogether, this gives 58 ability haste for 3,450 gold, and slows your opponent's attack speed by even more. Using this super handy chart from Reddit a few years back, we can convert ability haste to cooldown reduction and see that we're going to be getting around a 37% reduction, which is a bit over 4 seconds off of our W. So once we have a whopping 1 item and boots, our opposing ADC has a massive 2-second downtime that they aren't being withered. Very fun stuff. This doesn't even factor in that we're going to be buying much more than 58 ability haste throughout a game. Our normal build is going to be looking like Spell Thieves into cooldown boots, and then Frozen Heart and maybe a Locket. Feel free to pick up Knight's Vow and any other low economy tank items. Most of these have 20 ability haste on them, and you'll soon find yourself at close to 100 haste with only a handful of items. At 100 haste, your opponent has half a second of downtime between withers, so yeah. Opposing ADC is just not going to be playing the game. Aside from the attack speed slow, the movement slow is absurd as well. Just watch. She can't move! Like, She just walks up inconspicuously and then just dies. Like, she's like, surely this is fine, right? Surely. And later, also watch as I slow Karma into another dimension while my Syndra is half a screen away and not paying attention. Syndra, yo, Syndra, hello? Can we play the game? I could rant on and on about how this champion is just overstated and his ult gives a few thousand golden stats for no reason, or that you don't even need a Q ability and he's still broken, but I don't think that's necessary. The core problem that exists when a champion can poke harder than almost anyone else in the lane, and then win the all-in when someone tries to punish you, is too big of an issue to understate. Your core playstyle just exists around pressing E and then withering the ADC, and it's about as easy as it gets to win lanes without using any amount of thought or brain power at all. As much as I really hate the existence of something like this, I did need to make people aware of it, since the more it gets abused, the more likely Riot is to actually do something about it, and then the game is better for all of us. So until this gets absolutely gutted, we all have a mission to go out and collect our free LP while simultaneously fixing the game by bringing attention to what a massive problem this actually is. Thank you guys for watching, and go have fun withering your enemies into the next life. Alright, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about Skillcapped. We offer a 5-division rank up guarantee and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week with over 2,000 guides curated into over 270 courses. No one can compare. We've also sent challenger players into ELO hell over 1,100 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all your questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month to improve fast and get the rank you've always wanted. Link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.